Hi, today we're going to talk about functions and just kind of the introduction to what is a function. The very basic definition of a function is what I have up here on the screen. A function is a relationship between two variables where each input has only one output. Now that sounds like a whole bunch of math speak kind of things, but what that really means is when something happens, you know exactly what the outcome will be. So non-mathematical examples of this would be like when you flip a light switch, you know it's either going to turn the light on or off. It's not going to, open a door or paint a wall blue or something like that. You know the outcome of flipping your light switch is turning the light on or off. Okay, that's the same idea, but in math. When we have one input, we put one thing into a problem, we know that there's going to be one right answer. If there's more than one right answer, because that does happen in math, if there's more than one right answer, then that's a math problem, but it's just not a function. So today I'm going to show you examples that do not involve a graph table or equation. We're going to be doing that later on in other videos. But often when we are talking about the basics of functions, we'll look at what's called a function map, where we kind of have two ovals. That's just, whoever created function maps chose the shape of an oval. And all of these are input values. More commonly, there are x values, okay? So for example, if we have like 3, 4, 7, and 10, whatever. And what we have over here is our output values, which more commonly is known as y. And maybe we have 8, 1, 2, 0, whatever. I'm making up these numbers. Now, this function map does represent a function if each input has only one output. So that means if this number 3 only points to one number, then yes, it's a function, because I know if I put in 3 to whatever, sometimes we call it a function machine, but I put in 3 to whatever this imaginary math scenario is, I know I'm going to get an 8. It's not going to be that I put in a 3 and get an 8, and someone else puts in a 3 and correctly does the math and gets a different answer. If they correctly do the math, they will also get an 8. Now, this 4, I could put into my function machine. I could put it into maybe my equation or my graph or my table or whatever, and I could solve it. And I can solve it and I can correctly get an 8 also. That's totally fine. I don't care that these two share the same output. What I care is that if I put in the number 4 and my partner puts in the number 4 and someone else puts in the number 4, when they do the math correctly, they're going to get the same answer. It's not that we're all going to get different answers and all be correct. What that would look like if I put in a 4 and I got an 8, but my partner Joe put in a 4 and did the math correctly and got a 2, that's what this would look like. That's not a function. That's math. I mean, that's still math stuff, but it's not a function, because now I put in the number 4 and I don't know. Maybe I'll get an 8, maybe I'll get a 2. It'd be like flipping the light switch and saying, maybe it'll turn on the light or maybe it'll swing the door open, right? We just don't know what's going to happen. So that is not a function. I'm going to get rid of that because I do want functions here. So now maybe my 7, if I put in a 7 to whatever the function is, this graph table equation or something else, and maybe I get a 0, which means that when we do the math correctly, everyone else is also going to get a 0. And maybe when I put in a 10, I solve the problem and I get a 1, and everyone else will also get a 1. This function map, yes, represents a function because each input has only one output. That means each of the inputs only points to one number. I don't care that they both point to the number 8, whatever, that's fine. But because each input has one output, that means when I put in the 4, I know it's going to be 8, then that is a function. Now let me show you not a function. It would be something like I showed you before with the 4 pointing to something else. Maybe I'll have the 7 point to something else. Well, now suddenly I put in a 7, and I don't know, maybe it's a 0, maybe it's a 2. So that's not a function. So that is your introduction to what is a function.